Hi, this is Scott Garibay. Today we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to specifically talk about charisma understood through Pete Davidson. Alright, let's talk about this. Alright, so, boy do I love Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, it's just such a wonderful game. But there are challenges to the game, and one of them is Dungeons & Dragons is incredibly complex. It is not for children. I've seen some people in the comments saying, Dungeons & Dragons is pretend for kids. Could not be more wrong if you were dipped in wrong batter and then rolled in wrong dust, right? Like, you could just not be more wrong. Dungeons & Dragons is incredibly non-intuitive. It has some incredibly very complicated aspects, and it also deals with some deep issues like morality and, like, you know, alignment aligns with morality. It's incredibly deep. Dungeons & Dragons at virtually every other turn is quite philosophical, right? So if you think that Dungeons & Dragons is a game where, you know, for kids that play pretend, you're just not paying attention. Wake up. Okay. All right. So charisma is very hard to understand, right? Like, when we're dealing with our player characters, we're like, what is this, right? And I think one of the things, like, to understand it, it really helps if you can see it in IRL. And I think you can see it right now. One of the strongest ways to understand Dungeons & Dragons charisma is Pete Davidson. One of the best definitions I've ever heard of charisma, because I want to understand charisma, right? Because it's a critical part of Dungeons & Dragons, is, and we have to determine how to play our player characters, how to play our non-player characters based on their charisma scores, right? Well, boy, oh boy, Pete Davidson got a 20 charisma. I can tell you that right now, and here's why. The best definition of charisma I ever heard is the ability to persuade people to do something without reverting to logic. Without reverting to the person's sense of logic, right? So this is very easy. Like, you could say, hey, person, I want you to give me your car, right? And they're like, I don't want to give you my car. What if I gave you $20,000? Like, yep, here's my car, right? Logically, you're going to give me a stack of paper that I can get anything else I want with, and I'm going to give you my car, right? You persuaded them, right? And they're like, well, logically, this car's worth $12,000, so I'm going to, you know, I can get another car for $12,000 that's just as nice, and then I'm going to have $8,000 to put in my pocket. Logically, that's great for me, right? Pete Davidson, that dude is crushing it, right? He is like ruling the world of dating, right? So he dated Larry David's daughter, who, when he broke up with her, the breakup was so devastating for her, she wrote a book about it, right? And I think it sold like 100,000 copies plus. Like, there's an entire book about how much a lady was upset by getting broke up by Pete Davidson, right? Now, why on earth should anybody be upset with breaking up with Pete Davidson? There's no reason in the world anybody should be upset with breaking up with Pete Davidson. And the reason why is Pete Davidson is very open. He says, I have major problems with mental health issues, and I struggle with recreational substances. These are two very real, very now, struggles that I am dealing with. And he is incredibly open about it, right? So if you're like, hey, you know who I'd like to date? Somebody who's really struggling with mental health issues, and also someone who who mixes that problem with struggles with recreational substances, and not the shallow end of the pool, right? Like, you're like, whoa, that's bad. That's not. You don't want to get involved with that, right? Like, that is not logically. No one should be like, yeah, I'm ready to date Pete Davidson. Like, I don't think logically you're like, wait until you work through your mental health issues and you are past your recreational substance issues. That'd be a good time for us to date, but not now. Right? Like, and he is very open about it, very publicly about speaking about it, and saying, like, and when you listen to his words, you're like, no, ain't nobody should be involved with dating Pete Davidson. And yet there is a conga line of people who are very interested in dating Pete Davidson, right? And so the line so far is Larry David's daughter wrote a book about it. Kate Beckinsale, right? Ariana Grande, and the new person is Kim Kardashian, right? Who I think is just got is fresh out divorce, right? Like, so how on earth does Pete Davidson convince people to engage with him when his value proposition is outrageously low, right? Like, by no logical standard should he possibly be involved in dating, right? Well, the way he does it is with charisma, right? He's like, I'm going to persuade you to date me, even though logically there's no reason in the world anyone should date me, right? That's a 20 charisma. That fully demonstrates the concept of persuading people to do something without reverting to logic. And it is the most clear and immediate and current example of what a 20 charisma score would actually be like, right? And by the way, you're like, wait, Scott, Pete Davidson is a human. His score should be 18, because 18 is the max for humans, isn't it? You can only get to 20s if you, like, wait. Yeah, you can get, 20 is the human max, I think, because you can get a +2 without any magic, right? So what's giving that, and usually get it through a racial bonus, what is giving the +2? So I think Peter Davidson has an 18 charisma. Where's he getting the +2? It's his fame, his celebrity, right? Like, that's definitely, that's getting him the extra 2 points in a charisma. He has charisma, and he's using charisma to persuade people to do things without reverting to their sense of logic. Well, that's my opinion. What do you think? Do you think there's a better example of a 20 charisma score in IRL today? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.